Happy New Year. Happy, beautiful 2023 to all the listeners out there of Unscripted. I am your host, Carter Elliott, with my co-host, Greg Waddell. I am fresh off watching the Detroit Lions beat the Chicago Bears by 31 points at home. In January, I am watching good NFL football from my NFL team. It feels great. And my college basketball team, the Michigan State Spartans, finished out the year strong, beating the MAC opponents that were in front of them. I mean, not all teams in the Big Ten are doing that. So I'm happy. Greg, give me a pulse check. How you feeling? It's it's your first day here in 2023, but how are we feeling?
Yeah, first of all, refreshed. 2023 me is in a great spot. I just want to say that. And I hope the same to you. You're looking great, my friend. You're looking new and improved already. There's been a lot of talk in the last 48-ish hours that, the state of sports in the state of Michigan is real dire. Things are not good for a lot of fans in this state, is what I've been told. Well, I don't know who they're talking about, Cart, because Michigan State's off a 20-point win against a MAC school. Michigan's off a 35-point win against a Big Ten school. And, the Detroit Lions are out here fighting for a playoff bid. That doesn't happen every year. So I'm pretty happy today. I would like to congratulate you and all of our Michigan State fan listeners on Mel Tucker's biggest win of the season with the TCU victory. That was massive. And it's good to see a smile on your face with that.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, it was funny when I stepped out this morning to grab, my morning paper. JJ McCarthy almost threw me a pick six out of nowhere. I didn't even see it coming. It was absolutely beautiful. But this is the Unscripted presented by the Field 68, where we talk Michigan State basketball. So let's go ahead and let's stick the hoop, because we got a big week coming up. But before we dip into that, playing that team from the other side of the state, we got to talk about these last two previous games. Last game against Buffalo, a game that actually improved Michigan State metrics wise, which, for me, that's the biggest win. We had that game against Oakland, and when you looked at the metrics after the game, we actually fell in basically all the major net rankings. We fell in the metric rankings. We fell in the net. We fell in Torvik. We fell in KenPom. And that's what happens when you play Oakland, a 350 team on KenPom in the country, and you win by 13 points and you don't really get it past 20. Now, it was a totally different story in this Buffalo game, where we were able to get that lead to 20 and push it further and further out. So the win looked very good. Of course, after the game, Tom Izzo was quoted saying, "I was unhappy with how my team played," which is just, funny to me. Classic Izzo. After the Oakland game, he was all about Greg Campion and taking his best punch. But we finally, kind of put it on this Buffalo team. And, it's okay. It's all right. But do you have any thoughts on the Buffalo game, Greg? Did it do anything for you as far as swaying you of Michigan State's kind of bigger picture?
A bigger picture, no, would be my answer. Although I was very impressed with the win. And I would also just say Tom Izzo probably wasn't super effusive in his praise, because he's not best friends with the Buffalo head coach, as far as I know. He's got to do his boy Campy a solid. This Buffalo team, I would just say, I predicted Buffalo would cover this game. It was one of my picks on the daily gambling picks that I do. I also, to be very clear, if I say Michigan State's going to cover or they're not going to cover, bet the opposite. This is like the one team I can never get right. It makes no sense to me. But my eye test was Buffalo was a lot worse than I expected them to be, based on the metrics, based on their results, based on any analytics you can find on this team. That was the first Buffalo basketball game I watched this season. All of my information I knew about them was from research. They were much worse than expected to me. Some of that was enforced by Michigan State. Some of that was not. I think almost 4 minutes into the game, it was kind of like, this looks like when Michigan State should get in blowout fashion. And give them credit, for the most part, I thought they did that. It didn't stretch to 30, but the fact that they covered, the fact that this was Michigan State's first 20-point victory of the season. That was part of why I went with Buffalo to cover. Was I didn't think Michigan State was the type of team that beats anybody by 20 plus.
Was this our first 20-point win of the season?
This is the first 20-point win of the season. Yeah.
How much did we beat Brown by?
By like 17, I believe.
17. Okay.
18.
Wow.
18. Yeah. The Brown and Northern Arizona were both 18-point games. That was the largest margin of victory for Michigan State. So, and also to be clear, both of those teams are much worse than Buffalo. So this is a stride forward for sure for a team that has essentially not blown anybody out in crazy fashion to beat a pretty decent mid-major Buffalo team, according to the metrics. It was a very, very good win. To your question, though, does it change anything big picture for me? No, not really. And I think we're going to talk more about that. You're higher on Michigan State's ceiling big picture than I am. And I'd love to get into the weeds of that a little bit. But the most important thing by far, big picture, short picture, anything, was Malik Hall's back. And I know we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that. He raises this team's floor and ceiling immensely, and it was great to see him look good in 12 minutes off the bench.
100%. And you know what? Coming into the year 2023, I want to make kind of a resolution for unscripted as well. So I don't know if you're going to agree with this, but I'm going to just, as the host, make this a rule. We're not going to big up teams that like we should have beat and really take that much away from this Buffalo team. Okay. Yes, Greg, I know you had kind of an insinuation that this Buffalo team's like not absolutely terrible like Oakland. But in everything I saw before this game, not only just like looking in research, but also like I actually watched a Buffalo basketball game. This team is so bad offensively because none of them like to pass to each other, which makes it perfect for Michigan State to guard them because we have most of our defensive breakdowns on pick and roll or switching, handoffs. This Buffalo team coming into this game averaged more turnovers than assists per game. And it wasn't really close either. So, you know what? We're just going to move on from that game. It's a game we should have won. We won by 20. That's great. Not going to take any major team takeaways from it. Player takeaways, though, I do want to comment on a little bit more. Malik Hall, thank God that man is back. Okay. and it's not just offensively either. First of all, the level that this team looks better defensively with him on the floor makes it worth everything having him on the floor. Like I'm not even, obviously the offensive addition is something that's welcomed and that we like, but what he can do defensively and how he can improve our team defense as a whole by being on the floor is something that is a ceiling raiser for this Michigan State team, at least in my eyes. I don't know how you felt about it from what you saw.
Yeah, for sure. You're right on the defensive side without question. Solid is the word for me. Like Malik Hall, I think if you look at the story of his career, like he really started emerging as a sophomore, right? And I think he had a couple games off the bench that year where it was like, oh man, like he got 20 today. He's that type of guy. He can score that way. And then he'd go a couple games with nothing. And I think, we've complained about that the past couple of years where that happened to a lot of guys just due to the nature of the rotations and the roles. And I think we always sort of wondered, like, what does Malik Hall look like in a more solidified role? And even at times last year, there was a lot of conversation around like Malik Hall's the best player on this team. Why is he coming off the bench, especially when Joey was struggling? And I think one thing that's hurt Malik Hall, in my opinion, is that until this year, it has sort of essentially been Malik or Joey and not both. It's always had to be a competition. It's always been one or the other. And, to me, they're both very unique, different players that can complement each other. And this is the first year that's really happened. When he was healthy early in the season, we saw a lot of them together on the court, and they have both been individually great, in my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Malik Hall, if there's a player he reminds me of in Big Ten history, it's Isaiah Livers. And I think Isaiah Livers' best was a little ahead of what we've seen from Malik Hall in his career. And maybe that's the injury thus far. Maybe that's who Malik Hall will be if he's healthy at the end of the season this year. But like Isaiah Livers was a guy, you never had to scheme anything up for him. The ball would find him in the middle of the action. And whether it was an open three because he's in the right spot, or whether it was a putback because he is able to beat his man and see the open spot on the floor and chase down a rebound, he just does positive things on both ends of the court, and he doesn't get a lot of praise for it, but he was always there, and everybody else looked better when Isaiah Livers was on the floor. That's what Malik Hall does for Michigan State, and I think, we missed that clearly. If you look back at the last month where Michigan State struggled, you don't have to point much further than just like they're missing the most solid guy on this team, which is Hall.
Yeah, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with the comparison of Livers and the impact that they have. It's just a positive impact. When Malik Hall's on the floor, no one's attacking Malik Hall on the defensive end because he's a liability. And, obviously Pierre Brooks had to play a lot of minutes because of the injuries and situations that we were in. but he was getting targeted on the defensive end. Like coaches, any good coach, if you weren't Fred Hoiberg, you were going at Pierre Brooks on the other end of the floor because you knew what he could do or where he was at defensively. Now, where I'll kind of push back on the Livers Malik comparison, or just not even push back, just get my thoughts on it. The only thing is that when Livers was playing, he was playing that role with like surrounded by NBA talent.
Yeah,
like
fair.
the only difference is that though Malik is a positive impact at all times, we need him to do more because of the talent surrounding us. Livers didn't necessarily have to do more. Now, I think he could have done more. We don't really know. That's just kind of guessing and projecting. But this team needs Malik Hall to do more because he is kind of what I've alluded to on the last couple of episodes. He's part of like that main core that we had that main core that we kind of got to ride through the season. And after that main core, there's kind of a big fall off through what you call like the 6 through 9 guys or whatever, whatever we talk about. But obviously having him back is great.
I actually would push back on your pushback on that a little bit. So obviously they don't have the NBA talent. That's for sure.
I don't think you can push back on a pushback.
So the putback, is it a putback on a pushback?
All right, go ahead.
Listen, they don't have the NBA talent, that's for sure. And I guess that would be specific to the year that Franz was, the best player in the Big Ten and Hunter Dickinson's a freshman All-American. Like that team was more talented by far than this Michigan State team is. But the season prior is kind of very similar to this team, in my opinion. You had a senior Xavier Simpson. You had a senior John Teskey, who obviously is better than what Michigan State has at the center spot. You had freshman Franz, who you kind of thought might be a pro, but you weren't really sure yet. He was nowhere near what he has become at that point. And then you had Eli Brooks starting for the first time in his career. And to that point, he'd never been anything. And Isaiah Livers that year had to do a lot. And that team had their struggles. They had their ups and downs. I think they ended up losing 12 games before the tournament got canceled due to COVID. But they were also in the mix. They were the number 1 team in the country early in that season because they won the battle for Atlantis, and Isaiah Livers was playing phenomenal. So I think my only pushback would just be like, I think we saw Livers do that a little bit, and I don't want to make this the Isaiah Livers show, but like there's some dudes that like, this too, like some dudes that you just love to play with. Mm-hmm. And it's not even just like their basketball abilities. It's just like, oh, that dude cares. Like that dude really loves this game and really wants to win. And like, without being an over dramatic Tyler Hansbrough type leader, Draymond Green in your face, I demand excellence. That dude is a leader just by what he does and how he carries himself. And that's what Livers was to me for Michigan for so long. That's what Malik Hall is to me. And genuinely, Malik Hall, it's not his fault, but Malik Hall has never been a part of a great team in his tenure at Michigan State. And I think this is the first opportunity he has to do that. And we both hope and pray that his health holds up so that we can see where the season goes, because he deserves it based on what he's put in for his career.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you want to like take a player, obviously we've done this just in like exercises or games, and like take Malik Hall and plug him into like one of those really good Michigan State teams. Mm-hmm. Like it's like Malik Hall would be one of the best fourth or fifth options on a really, really, really good team, probably like all time. But I'm not going to do what Michigan State might do and skip over this Nebraska game. So I want to talk about it a little bit before we get into the rivalry game.
Wait, are we done with players? Is Malik Hall the only player we're doing?
I mean, do you want to comment on some more players?
I have a couple. One's a follow-up from something from last episode, but I have a couple positive praise guys I'd like to just go through real quick, if that's cool with you.
Please do.
So I think up and down this roster, based on what they did in the Buffalo game, I think there's a lot of good to go around. Like you can point at guys and be like, great job, man, like one by one. I just want to do that with most of them. Hauser, 14, 12, and 6. 31 minutes. That's a sleepy near triple double for Joey Hauser.
All Big Ten Joseph Jamal.
At this point, he has a case for at bare minimum second team, and I'll lead that, wave the flag with you. Jaden Akins is a guy I've criticized a lot lately. I've said he's made of glass. I've in text, not even on this program, but in text to friends, I've just flat out said he's been horrible this year, because I genuinely believe what Akins can be is crazy ahead of anything he's shown in a Michigan State uniform. Whether it's due to injury or not, I don't know. Probably yes. Probably that's all it is. 23 minutes, 13 points, 3 for 3 from 3. I think somebody said they added up like his last 20 shots from 3, and he's shooting like 55% from 3.
I don't misquote me on this, but 15 for 28, I believe is the number.
Stupid. And that's my thing with Akins is he has to turn the talent into production. He just has to. And he did that in this game. It mattered. And, I don't know if Hall's fully healthy. I don't know how much he starts for. I think he probably moves back to the bench, but the production was there this game. I thought it was massive. AJ Hoggard, another guy I've criticized a ton, double-double in this game, 10 assists, 11 points. I think over the last month, this is the most consistent AJ Hoggard play we've seen in his career. It's what I've asked for. It directly contradicts my assertion that AJ Hoggard can't be a winning player. He's found it, and he's very solid right now.
Let me jump in there before you move on to the next player. Let me tell you the best thing that I've seen from AJ Hoggard these last couple games that people might not have noticed and really isn't that big of a deal, but it is that big of a deal to me. When we started the year, there were so many times where he would kind of drive the lane or get into the lane, whether in transition or the half court, and he would maybe try to do a layup against a guy who's bigger than him or force things. I've never seen AJ Hoggard more in his Michigan State career than these last couple games where he's gotten to the lane and it's not there and he just pulls it back out himself, or he passes it out and goes and gets it back, sets it up and runs on. He's not forcing anything right now. Everything is coming very easy and it's making the offense look great right now. So I appreciate, I know that you have been critical, kind of AJ in the past and it's not unwarranted. Honestly, there was definitely reasoning behind it, but these last couple of games, the stretch that he's having, it's not just against, MAC teams either. I mean, this goes back to the Penn State game at Penn State. He's been playing great basketball. And then you combine that with the fact that Tyson Walker has been playing his consistent basketball, even though the shot's been off as of late. The shot's been off.
I'm going to get to that.
Go ahead.
No, we'll get to Tyson, but
go ahead.
AJ's been limiting turnovers, which is awesome. That's never been a thing he's been able to do. At this point, he's making Mike Curbelo comps look silly because he's able to contribute to winning basketball every game. That has not been a thing of AJ's career until the last 3 weeks. I'm very hopeful that he can continue that in the Big Ten play. And then even a couple guys on the bench, like if Malik Hall's back, you're going to see Pierre Brooks less. And if you see Pierre Brooks in just 19 minutes a game, about all you can ask for is 8 points off the bench. Like, we know what Pierre Brooks is. He's a gunner. He's a floor spacer. He's not going to bring you much defensively. I'm real happy with that. Like, if you can get 8 points from Pierre Brooks in 19 minutes, shoot a couple threes and just get that production, very happy with that. And same with even Jackson Kohler. Look, I don't know how much Kohler's going to play here. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but I think as you get into Big Ten play, you're going to start to see Mady Sissoko play 25, 30 minutes a game. I think we
want small ball.
You might see small ball. You might see it. Maybe not, because you got to get Malik Hall healthy. 12 minutes is still the number right now. But Kohler down to 11 minutes, even when you didn't have a lot of Malik Hall, is a little interesting to me. And in those 11 minutes, they'll give him credit, super productive. 7 points and 4 rebounds from Jackson Kohler in 11 minutes is all you can ask for. And I know there was a lot of discussion on like how he looked, how those points came about, the mistakes he made. You're right. They were there. But you have to admit, in 11 minutes, 7 and 4 from your backup center, who's a true freshman, is like, that's as good as we're going to get from Jackson Kohler this year.
Yeah, some of that came in garbage time, though, to be fair.
A lot of it came into garbage time, but like, still.
I just, I really, like, if I could have anything besides health for this Michigan State team, I was just hoping for that one Kohler breakout game / moment before the Big Ten, and we didn't get it.
I think if we're being honest, though, we don't expect to get that this season, right? Like,
speak for yourself. I expected to get it.
Well, preseason, yeah, we both did. I was advocating with the Field of 68 list, like, you got to rank this guy top 10 breakout freshman in the country. Like, I've been very surprised with where Kohler's at. That said, after seeing him on the court 2 games, it was kind of like, yeah, I don't know that that's going to happen this year. So given that, though, you get me 7 points, 4 rebounds in 11 minutes. I don't care if it is garbage time. Like, I'll take that. Like, the better thing for us would be less minutes, more production. And this was a step in that direction for me. And finally, for my positives, a lot of positives for me here. Trey Holloman, right? Another guy who I think, if everybody's healthy, you kind of want to see less Trey Holloman. No offense to Trey Holloman, but like I want those minutes to go to Akins. I want Hogard and Walker close to 30. He played 17 minutes in this game. Again, if Hall's minutes go up, I think it cuts down on that a little bit, but 7 points, 2 assists, no turnovers in under 20 minutes. Like if you get that production from Holloman and Brooks in limited roles, all of a sudden we're talking about this team not having the depth issues that have plagued them all season long. Mm-hmm. And Malik Hall's presence allows them to play smaller roles, which is a big part of this, but they still have to perform. They still have to play well. And I thought for those two to immediately play less minutes than they have been, be productive, that's a really good sign going forward. Now, my final player, the callback I want to talk about. Last episode, I came on and I posed a question to you. Are you worried about Tyson getting worn down at all? Are you worried that that efficiency is starting to go away? It's been a little bit of a string of cold games. Another cold one for him here. The shot's not going in right now. 0 for 4 from 3, 2 for 8 from the floor, 7 points, 1 assist, 2 turnovers. It feels like he's hit a wall to me. And I don't know, like I think he snaps out of it at some point, but like this guy's been playing 35 minutes a game. He played less this game, but it kind of just feels like he's a little out of gas still to me. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, he might be. I don't know.
He's the only guy that didn't play well this game. Everybody on the team played well, I thought. And Tyson, just the production wasn't there.
Yeah, but the thing is, I guess you would be right in a sense because I don't know if he's I can't point to him taking bad shots. I can't point to him not doing the things that make shots fall. They're just not falling. So I mean, there might be something to the Tyson being, worn down a little bit. Maybe now with Malik Hall back in the fold, maybe we can find a way to get some minutes for Tyson to rest with Jay Nakins coming on as of late. But I just think that's something maybe Coach Izzo would notice and is going to figure out. But I definitely think it's something to worry about. But it's not just with Tyson. Like I worry about that with everybody on the team. Like Malik Hall getting a stress fracture, though it might be a freak incident, it's also an incident of high usage and high volume. Like that's a high usage, high volume injury. Now, that's not the only reason it is. There's a lot of players that have high usage and high volume and all that. But, stress fracture injuries in the lower leg are usually an indication of that. And that's happening before we even get into this rugged Big Ten schedule. So it's something we got to monitor. But that's why it's so important that, you mentioned that Pierre Brooks was able to give some good minutes and, 15-ish minutes. Like if we can get some good spells from some of those bench guys, I'm not asking for anything crazy, but if we can steal some minutes from those 6 through 9 guys on the bench to kind of give more of a rest to the guys that are playing heavy minutes, it's going to be monumental, which is why, I'm not expecting Jackson Kohler to be freshman of the year in the Big Ten, but if he can give us something that we can get some productive, not even productive, just give me some solid minutes.
7 and 4 in 11 minutes.
You're right.
I liked it. I felt this was the first game to me all year, even when healthy at the beginning of the year when they were playing well. This was the first game it felt like they had 9 guys. Even at the beginning of the year, it felt like they had 7.5 guys and they were somehow making it work. This game was like, oh shit, they got a bench. Like dudes know their roles and they're playing well right now. It was impressive. And yeah, I think your point's fair about everybody. To actually steal a direct quote from Tom Izzo circa 2015 when Karis LeVert suffered a season career-ending stress fracture injury. You hate to see that. That's from overuse. So you definitely don't wish that on anybody, but there's a lot of guys who have been overused just given the nature of this roster. And I think Tyson, for me, when I talk about him wearing down, I mean more so like, I think situationally, so much has been put on his shoulders. You go back through the games this year, like we're on a boat against Gonzaga. Crunch time, the ball, it goes to you, Tyson. We're at the Champions Classic. Crunch time, AJ's on the bench. The ball's in your hands, Tyson. Like any high leverage situation, it's been let's find Tyson Walker. And that's a ton of pressure to put on one guy who's playing 32, 35 minutes a game. And he was playing at such a high level early. My question was just, is that really sustainable? And we made the Trice comparison earlier in the year. Trice sustained it. Like, someone can fact check me on that and go back, and maybe he had a cold spell for a month or something. But like, for the better part of Travis Trice's senior year, he was an every game 15, 16 points a game guy. Tyson's having a little string right now, just where the shot's not going in. Maybe it's just the shot. But I think for this team to be what we hope it can be, you got to get Tyson back in that hunter role where he really is the heart of the offense. And right now that's fallen apart a little bit the last couple of games.
Yeah, I definitely think it's something not to panic about right now. I know you mentioned last episode it's something I'm worried about. Still not in the worrying category, but last week I wasn't even in the monitoring category. Yeah. Now I'm monitoring. Now it's something I got my eye on. So yeah, I'm definitely something I'm going to watch. My solution to that would be some more Jay Nakins, to be honest. But then again, another guy who I'm scared to do usage with. God,
we're scared to take him out the box, man. Jay Nakins is such a shiny little toy, man. I don't even want to break the seal. I want to just look at him and say, that's my toy. Like,
he's like a pair of just dead stock fire ass Jordans that are just, you don't want to just scuff them up. You don't want to get them dirty.
You can't wear them. But at some point, like 4 years are gonna pass.
We ain't got wear them. We ain't got no shoes.
We got no shoes, man.
We got so. Gotta break it out.
He's a nice looking shoe. He's a nice looking shoe.
It is. Oh, damn. Okay. Now can we move on to Nebraska?
Please.
Thank you. I'd love to move on to Nebraska.
I'm sorry. I steal the wheel from you way too much on these shows. I apologize. Go ahead.
I mean, I encourage it. So please do. But obviously this is you look in the college basketball dictionary of trap game. Looking ahead, we have what it is it not?
It 100% is. I'm just laughing. I'm laughing because you're so right about it.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to monitor that comment because I feel like it might be backhanded.
No, I'm dead serious. It's a definition trap game in a way that I didn't even realize until you said that.
It is. It's a trap game. But what I will say is I would be way more scared of this game if Fred Hoiberg was not the coach of Nebraska Cornhuskers. I'm sorry, Greg. We saw it in person, man. We did.
Okay, can I counterpoint you though? Because I'm in on making fun of Hoiberg 100%. Here's the thing: is any coach in the Big Ten good?
Yes.
Tom Izzo is. Is any coach other than Tom Izzo good?
Yes.
We think Matt Painter is, but didn't Hoiberg outcoach Matt Painter?
Micah Shrewsbury's good.
Micah Shrewsbury's pretty good. I agree with
Pikel's
that.
Good.
Pikel's pretty good. Yeah.
Woodson's,
okay. So
Woodson's old.
There's some good ones. I just watched this Nebraska team that we make fun of Hoiberg for. Like, we watched him against Purdue, and I thought Hoiberg outcoached Matt Painter in that game. Like, he was sending triple teams at Zach Edey, and Purdue had no answer for it other than like just take Edey out of the game completely. And they just boat raced Iowa. Nebraska just ran Iowa out of their gym. 16-point victory in Lincoln. Lincoln was probably going up. That bar, whatever that bar was, Playmakers or whatever that was. What was that one? The I don't know. We're forgetting the name of the bar in Lincoln.
Wait, no. It started with a B.
I've lost it too.
Damn it.
I've lost it.
It had a great Brewskis.
Brewskis was going up in Lincoln. Okay. And I would just say this. I'm not in on Hoiberg, but I'm a little bit in on this Nebraska team being better than any team he's had at Nebraska.
Like, I'm in on that. I'm personnel wise, I'm actually in on this Nebraska team. I think that, Derek Walker is a monster that like people don't necessarily talk about when they talk about bigs in the Big Ten. Like, he's up there with some of the best bigs in the Big Ten. I don't want to butcher his name. Tamaguchi?
Oh boy, Cart. Oh boy.
What is it?
It's not what you said. That's okay. That's a real rough one. I don't know how to pronounce the first name, but it's Ki Tominaga.
Tominaga. My apologies. Tominaga, just a gamer, just a guy who just comes off the bench and fires. They have personnel, and honestly, like, if you match it up with this Michigan State team, yeah, I'm probably taking a lot of the Michigan State players, but I think it's an argument. Like, if someone was pulling for some Nebraska personnel, would I necessarily push back? I don't know.
They have 3.5 guys. Maybe the 3 guys and 2 half guys, which is more than Fred Hoiberg's ever had at Nebraska. But like, Derek Walker is a dude. He puts up Joey Hauser numbers night in, night out, and it's probably a little flashier than Joey's are, but he's a dude. Grisel is productive. I don't think he shot the ball very well this year. Only 36% from three. I think you hope he's better than that. 66% from the line. He's supposedly a shooter historically, but he's really like I don't know. I would call him kind of like a point wing more. Like he kind of functions like he's their point guard, but he's bigger than that. And he's more of like a three to me than he is anything else. 4 assists a game from him, 5 rebounds, 11 points. He plays 32 minutes a game. He's kind of their everything. And then Tominaga is just like a gunner off the bench. I honestly like he averages double figures. I am kind of shocked he's been that productive. I really think he's a bit of a disaster. And when shots go in for him, it's like it unlocks everything else for them because everybody gets so hyped that the shot goes in. But like this dude takes 3 horrible shots a game, like off the dribble, so contested, 20 seconds on the shot clock, fallaways from behind the baseline. It's wild that they let him get away with it, but somehow he's turned that into being an 11 points a game scorer. Like it's wild to me. And then the 2 that I called half guys, Juwan Gary, CJ Wilcher, have both been productive players elsewhere in their career. And right now they're like Eli Brooksy guys to me, where they're like glue guys on the floor, but they're 5th options. The other one, Ban Dumel's been pretty productive. Like they have a rotation that makes sense. And that's never happened at Nebraska. Last year, it was like, we've got the McGowan's brothers and nobody else knows what we're doing. In years past, they've had like a 5-star talent somewhere. Like it was the big guard who now plays for Toronto, Delano Banton.
Delano Banton.
Delano Banton was awesome. And then all of a sudden he was just gone. Like poof, he disappeared. And this year's team feels much more like a basketball team. Credit to Hoiberg. They've had some big wins. If you blow out Iowa, if you take Purdue to the wire, if you beat Creighton by 30, like clearly you're a team capable of beating, honestly, almost anyone any given night. But I think they're a much different team at home than they are on the road, and that's going to matter for Michigan State in this one.
Yeah, I expect this game to be like a rock fight, to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to be like an up and down type game. I don't know how you feel about it. I think it's going to be a game we're going to eke out. But I do think that we're going to come out with the win. I do think we're going to kind of realize that it is a trappy game. And you know what? Thinking back on it, Izzo's comments after that Buffalo game about him not being happy with the play might be correlated directly to the fact that he knows that a trap game is upon us and that we are probably looking forward to that home game against Michigan at the Breslin. So I think it's going to be a game that it's going to be a rock fight. They're going to pull it out. I'm not scared of Nebraska. I don't know. I'm not scared of any Big Ten team, to be honest with you. That's kind of the situation that
we got to talk about that.
Are we moving on to the next game?
It's up to you. But I'm excited for that conversation whenever you get
I'm ready. I am ready to move on to the next game. And if anyone sees me looking down at this game, just know that I have a bet placed on BetRivers, the official betting sponsor of this podcast. And I got Ohio State money line against Northwestern. So just know that if I'm peaking, that is what I'm checking scores on.
Also, just to be clear, I've got it right there. Ohio State's cooking Northwestern. It's 29-8 with 5 minutes left in the first.
I know, Gregory.
Things are good. Things are good for the boys.
Things are good for the unscripted boys. And when it's good for the unscripted boys, it's good for the podcast. Let me tell you right now. But let's move on because we got one of the best rivalries in college basketball. Mm-hmm. And that's not just me personally speaking. It is.
Some are saying the best rivalry in college basketball. Some are saying that.
Okay, some are saying that. I probably disagree with that, but hey, some are saying that. We talked about the last couple of episodes, G, or maybe it was just me and you on the side. One of the main correlations of everyone saying the Big Ten is down is because Michigan State and Michigan aren't at that. I would use the word elite level that they typically are at least within the conference. Let's call it the country too. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Now, I think we're getting our wish right now because despite Michigan coming off a game where they lost to a MAC school at home on a game-winning 3 by Reggie Bass, the former Illinois commit. Shout out to Champaign boys. They are coming off a absolute rout of Kevin Willard in Maryland at Maryland. And in a game where I didn't watch the full game, but I watched highlights of it.
It was in Ann Arbor, for the record.
Oh, was it in Ann Arbor? Oh, my apologies. Arbor, yeah. My apologies. They ran them boys off the floor. So that was good to see. And I think it sets up for a good matchup on Saturday because it doesn't matter what is going on with the teams, within the teams, what the record is. It always seems like these teams split, and whatever it is, it's going to be a battle. So, how are you personally feeling coming into the game Saturday?
Are you asking the Michigan fan in me that, or just like the Big Ten guy, the unscripted co-host? What me are you asking? Because my basketball loyalties are a little fuzzy.
Okay, let me get the Big Ten guy.
The Big Ten guy. Okay. I love your point that the Big Ten feels down this year because Michigan and Michigan State are down. And look, some people might argue, I don't think anybody from the Michigan side would argue Michigan's down at this point, even after today's result. I would like to talk about the result at some point, though, because it does change the way we look at this Michigan State game after what we saw from Michigan today. But I think Michigan State fans in general might push back on me a little, like, oh, we're not down. Like, we could win the Big Ten. We can beat anybody this year. That's totally true. All that's true. You're still down compared to what the best Michigan State teams should be. This Michigan State team is not that. Next year's team might be that. We don't know yet. We're hopeful that it will be. I think there's a high likelihood that it will be. But Michigan State, to me, is a fringe blue blood school that should be one of the 6-7 best programs in the country. And this team is not going to sniff that ranking nationally ever this season. It's just not. It could win the national title. It could win 6 straight games in March. It's going to be the UConn style 7 seed goes all the way. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when we talk about how good the Big Ten is and whether it deserves love nationally, like the Big Ten's down because Michigan and Michigan State are down compared to what they have been for a decade. And that frustrates me more than anyone as someone who covers both teams and likes both teams. Like, it bothers me so much when these teams aren't what I think they can be. Now, I think you've said some comments in general, and we'll do more in depth on Michigan in a moment, but like, you've said some comments lately on you're not afraid of anyone in the Big Ten. You think Michigan State is in the upperest tier. Like, it's with Purdue. You haven't had Ohio State in that group from what I've heard. I think Ohio State belongs in that group right now, beating a team on the road by 30, and they're about to be 3-0 in the conference. Like, I know you keep throwing Illinois in there. They're still 0-2 in the conference right now. So I kind of like to gauge where you're at relative to the rest of the conference, because for me, I still don't see Michigan State in that tier at all. I think on any given night, they can beat anybody, but I think this is very much a middle of the pack Big Ten team. And there's a long way to go to reach that Purdue, Ohio State level right now.
So you think Purdue and Ohio State are in the top tier right now? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, given how they've performed, like, I don't know how you don't say that. Purdue's the number 1 team in the country. Ohio State's about to be 2-0 after this Northwestern blowout. And Ohio State has gone, toe to toe.
Ohio State shouldn't be 2-0 though.
Well, that's true. The Rutgers game was close, but we like Rutgers also. Like,
that's true.
We like Rutgers. I just like Ohio State, to me, like, they beat Texas Tech in Maui, went 2-1 in Maui, played a competitive game with Duke. Like, I'm buying this Ohio State team, at least like up against other national high major teams, in a way that I'm not really buying other Big Ten teams right now. I think Penn State belongs in the top tier, and I know Michigan State beat Penn State, but I think looking back on that win, that's going to be one of the best wins any team has in conference. I don't think a lot of teams are going to beat Penn State in Happy Valley.
So this is the thing about how my tiers kind of work, Greg. And I don't think it works like anybody else's tiers ever or on this earth. My Big Ten tiers this year is I have Purdue in a tier by itself at the Big Ten.
Okay.
You got every other Big Ten team bottom tier, like Northwestern, Minnesota, Nebraska.
I think that's a little disrespectful to Northwestern. I know what's happening to them right now, but I think Minnesota is alone at the bottom. I think Nebraska and maybe Northwestern are next.
As pulling my host card here, what we're not going to do on this, at least as I'm participating as a host, is big up a backcourt of Boo Boo and Chase Aldige.
Boo Boo.
No, if they play Michigan State every game, I might up them as a top tier Big Ten team, but not
Northwestern's 10-2. about to be 10-3 this year. Like,
Okay, I didn't expect to jump into the Big Ten conversation like this because I wanted to focus on the Michigan game. But now that we're here, let's get here because I think that Michigan State is a top 4 team in the Big Ten. I think an argument can be made for that. And you're shaking your head like you might disagree, but I don't think you're kind of seeing. There can be an argument made that they are a top 4 team in the Big Ten.
So I'd like to hear the argument, but prior to me hearing the argument, I would just say there's an argument that can be made for 13 different teams in the Big Ten that they're a top 4 team. Like, I won't debate you that you can argue Michigan State's top 4. The problem is that there is nothing based in reality, based on the results of this season, based on the advanced metrics, based on KenPom, based on Torvik, based on record, based on anything other than, oh yeah, maybe Michigan State can get there, that says they're a top 4 team in this conference.
You know what you forgot when you're measuring metrics?
Fandom.
No, my actual fucking eyeballs. Okay. What I see and what I've watched from Big Ten teams. Okay. They have an argument to be a top. Yes, Gregory, listen to me.
This is a team that has 1 win on the season by 20 points. They haven't even blown out cupcakes, Cart.
We're 1-1 in the Big Ten. We're 1-1 in the Big Ten.
Their best wins, their best performances that people hung their hats on at the beginning of the season for this team have now looking back are much less impressive.
I'm hanging my hat on win at Penn State.
That's a great win. I just said it 5 minutes ago. That's going to be one of the best wins anyone in the conference has this year.
Villanova win will continue to get better.
The team they played at the time was horrible. The team Villanova now with Cam Whitmore, certainly it looks better. That's not who Michigan State almost lost to at home.
We took Eric Dixon's best punch.
But like, that's just, and I get, like, again, you can make the argument for 13 different teams. You're saying we're 1-1 in the Big Ten. Cart, 1-1 in the Big Ten leaves you tied for 8th in the Big Ten right now. Like,
with how many teams?
You know who's 2-0 in the Big Ten? Michigan, and they stink. Like 2-0. Wisconsin's 2-0. Ohio State's 2-0. Penn State's 2-1. Like, this conference is gonna be a bloodbath. Every team's gonna lose 5 games or more. And like I said, you can make an argument for anyone. We can make an argument for Illinois right now, who has 4 losses on the season, 0-2 in the Big Ten, that they're the best team in this conference. That's because the conference is bad. But like, just given where we are today, I don't know how you put Michigan State in the top 4 with Purdue, with Ohio State. I think right now you have to put Wisconsin up there. That win in Iowa City matters. And then really, like, aren't you picking Indiana over Michigan State, even though we don't like Indiana? Like,
I mean, Indiana just lost their starting point guard.
That's true.
All I'm saying is that I'm isolating each Big Ten team, and right now we have the best coach in the Big Ten,
bar none. Now. No question.
Bar none.
No question.
Our top 4.
Painter. Painter's been great this year.
Okay. I can make an argument for Tom Izzo being the best coach in the Big Ten.
I mean, Painter has a freshman backcourt, and they're the number 1 team in the country.
True. Also, after this podcast, we need to address the statement, make an argument, because I feel like you can get away with a lot of stuff by saying, I just want to make an argument about it. Like, I have an actual point that I want to prove, but I don't want you to push back on it. So I'm going to say I can just make an argument for it.
It's a great, great point, Cart. I could make an argument that's a phenomenal argument.
Okay, but what I was saying is we have a top 2 coach in the Big Ten, okay?
Top 2, yes.
And I'm willing to take our top 4 against the other best top 4s in this conference.
But basketball is not a 4-man game. And if we were to list every team in the conference, including the worst team in the conference, you're taking everybody else's 5th guy over Michigan State's 5th guy. And that's a problem.
Well, good thing. Well, to counter that point, good thing basketball isn't a battle of 5th guys on the team.
It's not, but like, if that's just, we can't, like, again, you're making the argument. Like you said, if you want to make the argument, you can make the argument. But the argument is centered around, well, if you just look at our top 4 and forget that Mady Sissoko is horrible, then, I mean, no one can beat Michigan State. Like, yeah, you're right. But Mady Sissoko exists, and he's really bad.
I miss positive you.
I'm sorry. This is why I asked Carter pre-show for everybody listening. I literally asked him because I knew we were going to have this conversation. I said, do you want me to play the positivity card again, or do you want me to be honest? And he was like, no, I'm the host. I want you to be honest. So here's the honesty. And look, all this is to say, I'm not trying to shit on Michigan State. If they end up fourth at the end of the year, I will not be that surprised. But this really, to me, feels like a similar finishing team as they have been the last 2 seasons. It feels like a team that makes the NCAA tournament comfortably, which I guess it puts them ahead of where they were 2 years ago. But it feels like an 8-9 seed type team. Nothing wrong with that. That can beat anybody any given night, but probably is around 500, maybe 11-9 in the conference. This year, maybe 11-9 puts you fourth. I don't know. On a normal year, that would put you like 6th or 7th or 8th in the conference. And I think, to me, like, you expect Illinois to rise over Michigan State at some point. Maybe it won't happen, but I think Illinois gets up there. I think, if they don't have Johnson, then I guess Indiana drops. But if they did have Johnson, Indiana would be up there. Again, it's why I think Michigan State's win is so impressive. I really think Penn State's a top 4 team. I'd go to bat for Penn State over a lot of good teams in this conference because Jalen Pickett is the best guard in the country right now. And because they've got an identity basketball wise that nobody else in this conference has. I think Penn State goes about 14-6 this year. And I think Michigan State, that's a resume boosting win for Michigan State that they won at Penn State. And then I think Purdue and Wisconsin and Ohio State are just ahead of them right now.
Yeah. Okay. I love that angle. But now for the last portion of this, I would like to focus in on the actual game of Michigan and Michigan State. First things first, we got the greatest thing ever in Michigan State basketball history. We had the opportunity to pick 2 players to compare against each other in this basketball game. Last year, this game was labeled as the battle between Cormac and Caleb Houston, who was the better player. I'm ready to put out a matchup for this game of who's going to be the better player when we're talking about left-handers that are ready to break out. This is going to be the battle of Buffkin and Akins.
I'd be scared about that from the Michigan State side. I would be.
Why?
Because Kobe Buffkin's been so good lately. It's crazy. And
to steal words out of your mouth, if Kobe Buffkin is the best player on your team, you are a bad basketball
You're a really bad team. And tonight he was not the best player on Michigan, and that's why they won by 35 points in a Big Ten game. I think it's gone unnoticed this year how good Kobe has been because how bad Michigan has been. And I don't think nobody should necessarily give him a ton of credit because the team's so bad, nobody deserves credit. But this is a guy who, much like Akins, which is why we can play this game, this is a guy that we loved out of high school that really didn't do much last year, showed flashes, maybe Akins showed flashes. Buffkin didn't show anything last year. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden this year, from a Michigan perspective, you need 30 minutes from him. And when Jalen Llewellyn goes down, you need 35 minutes from him, and you're going to play out of position to play point guard. And at the time when Jalen Llewellyn went down, Kobe Buffkin was shooting 18% from 3 on the season. And now he's got to play point guard. That was a really scary proposition. All he's done since is be nonsensically good. I just want to read a couple game logs for you. 15 and 4 assists in his first game as point guard against Minnesota. He followed that up with 22 points against Lipscomb, 22 points against North Carolina, 16 points, 2 assists against CMU in the loss. And then tonight, he only scored 5 points tonight, but he had some eye-popping moments that I know that sounds like I'm just being crazy, but he literally had the Trey Burke rip a guy at half court, come down, made a no-look spin pass for a dunk to Hunter Dickinson, and then had a help side block a moment later. This dude has just become the most solid guy on the team, which is why when you compare him to Akins, they're in very different spots as players right now. And part of that is because of what Michigan needs from Kobe Buffkin. Michigan State doesn't need anything from Akins other than be a great guy off the bench.
True. And also Kobe Buffkin's your best defender too on that team. That is not a good defensive team.
He's the only defender.
He's the only defender.
He's
the only defender. So I'm torn on this game because obviously, like I just stated, Michigan State, it can go either way. But despite that game against Maryland, I'm looking at the whole picture of Michigan as a team. I think they're a terrible defensive team. I think they have terrible effort. I think they're terribly coached by Juwan Howard. And I feel like that's fair to say. Now, that can all go out the window in a rivalry game, as you know, that both, in any rivalry game you look at. But I can't shake the fact that I'm coming into this game, and if I'm a Michigan State guy, I really have no fear, because I don't think there's anyone in this Michigan series that strikes fear in me. And I feel like Hunter Dickinson on Round Ball podcast right now saying this, like I'm coming out and just calling out the other team, saying I don't fear anybody on that team.
Hunter Dickinson doesn't fear you?
Huh?
Hunter Dickinson doesn't fear you? Like, I know we make
you mean Hunter Dickinson doesn't scare me?
We make So we make a lot of
No.
jokes. We make a lot of jokes about Hunter Dickinson, rightfully so. He's been bad. I don't want my team built around him. It is what it is. But let's not act like Hunter Dickinson hasn't single-handedly beaten Michigan State in his career.
Right, he has, but he's also known for having one bad game against Michigan State, or one losing performance, and then using that as motivation to have 40 the next game and look at Tom Izzo and grab your balls.
Right, but like that's, I guess, where I don't know how you say you don't fear that though, because like, is it highly likely he's going to lay an egg in one and then be good in the other? Yeah, like we both agreed it's probably going to be a split this year. I think we've both been on record saying that. If anybody wins two, I would bet that it's Michigan State. But I don't know. I don't know how you look at Hunter and be like, I'm not afraid of Hunter. Like he single-handedly dominated Michigan State 2 years running in one game.
I don't fear Hunter's domination having an effect on the outcome of the game.
Okay.
Like I think we're gonna win. It'll be. I guess it's great for Hunter. Like
Hunter also. I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but Hunter also last year dominated in the game he dominated against Marcus Bingham. The year before that, he dominated. I forget who was even. Was it Marcus Bingham? And they had
a little Marcus Bingham, a little Julius Marble. Mix.
Okay. Which, I mean, those guys are significantly better than Madi Sissoko. So, are you going small ball on Hunter? Because
I mean, where does Hunter's domination get y'all? Splits?
I mean, again, I don't think you watched, or I think I heard you say that earlier, but Hunter, look, I've criticized him all year long. Today, he had 10 points before the first media timeout because he decided to show up. He finished with 30.
Maryland.
Right. But there's 3 teams on the schedule that Hunter cares about. One of them's your team. So like we can't say like, oh, it was the Maryland thing. Hunter cares. Hunter cares once a year against Michigan State. What if he decides to show up and care in this? You've said it. The only person who stops Hunter is Hunter.
Yeah.
So if Hunter wants to show up and go for 40, isn't he doing that in this game?
From what I've seen this year, I'm betting he doesn't.
Last year, Tom Izzo did the move where he said, let's let Hunter get his 30 and let's stay home on other guys. Do you think that Tom Izzo pulls that strategy this year?
Yeah, I think this is a better team to pull it on. I mean, last year, at least you had 40% shooters, at least one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I mean,
you got Jet this year. Jet's a better shooter.
I think the coaching matchup is definitely going to be one that's going to be a deciding factor in this game, more so than players, if I had to pick something. And then if that's the case, then Tom's going to coach circles around anger management.
Yeah, in theory. I would just say, like, again, I came on our Sleepers episode the other day, and I ripped Juwan Howard, but I also encouraged patience, right? Because I said we just don't know how this season's going to end. Mm-hmm. Juwan Howard has been horrible up to this point. Juwan Howard has been horrible up to this point in the past, and then he's figured it out. And if the Maryland game tonight is any indication, Juwan has already made some very good adjustments. And we can talk about that more in our Michigan episode. This is Michigan State. But, like, I think just flat out saying, like, Juwan's a horrible coach is a miss that a lot of Michigan State fans are making right now. He's not a horrible coach. He's done pretty horribly this season to this point, but he's not a horrible basketball coach. He's won games against Tom Izzo before. I believe, what's their record right now? Aren't they even against each other in their careers?
I think we might be up like 1 or 2 games.
I think
because there was that year with Cassius that we won 2 times.
That
put us ahead.
That was against Beeline, wasn't it?
No, that was when Juwan got that technical when he came onto the court. Remember that year, the COVID year?
I thought they split that year.
They might have. I don't know. We got the fact check on that. But
yeah, well, I'm pretty sure. Run the numbers. Somebody. I don't know. I don't know. I was in my head. They've split. I know the last couple of years they've split. So,
but between us, you're the number running guy.
I am the number running guy. And also, again, to be fair, Michigan's been more talented than Michigan State. the last couple of years. So a split is not, in the past, it has not been a great result for Michigan. This year, I think you would say Michigan State is the better team. So,
okay, you know what, Greg, we're gonna end this. We're gonna end this with a little game / quiz. Okay, you ready?
I'm scared, but yeah.
No, it's okay. And you just got to give me a nod. Give me a green or blue for which side you're going with, okay? Coaching matchup.
Green.
Okay, just marking that down. A little note here. Player matchup. Talent. Just players, everything associated with that.
Michigan is a more talented basketball team than Michigan State.
Okay. Which team is
they're a worse basketball team.
Which team is currently playing better basketball?
Currently, it's Michigan. I mean,
I disagree.
Listen,
I disagree. They just lost at home to Central.
But you're saying currently, like Michigan's performance today against Maryland is better than any Michigan State performance this season. Legit. And I know this happened an hour ago.
And the loss against Central is one of the worst losses across college basketball all year.
So if we're saying currently, you want me to go back 3 days ago before that currently happened?
So we're doing you're pulling it's like current. I started like changing myself at 8 a.m. the morning of the new year. So like new year, new me.
No, I'm not. I've actually we're gonna do our Michigan video after this, and I'm gonna say like my takeaway is not this is some fixed Michigan team. It's not at all. It's more about Maryland. But like, I'm telling you, I've watched every game from both teams. Michigan was better today than Michigan State has been in any game. I think it's an anomaly, but like, we can't act like we're shocked that that's in there because this team's talented as hell.
It is, but I cannot shake the fact that that team lost to a Central Michigan team that played a bad game.
It was a really bad loss. And okay. Look, you can't compare it because it's a MAC school, but pretending that Michigan State has not had stinkers this year is a mistake because losing to Notre Dame by 20 is a horrible loss. Losing at home to Northwestern is a horrible loss.
Yes.
Almost losing to Portland on a neutral is a horrible performance. Almost. So I just want to like, it's fun. I get it. It's Central Michigan. That was horrible. If Michigan plays like that at the Breslin, Michigan State beats them by 40. If Michigan shows up and plays like they did against Maryland, Michigan likely wins the game. And I think you got to be honest about that. Like coming into this, like I'm not scared of anybody. Michigan State's just better is not necessarily accurate. I think these teams are very similarly mediocre this year. And Izzo's probably the difference. But Hunter Dickinson could absolutely be the difference. Like that would not be a surprise if Hunter just dominates and Michigan wins this game.
And last question of this quiz. Who wins the basketball game and what's the winning margin? You don't have to be exact. Give me a range if needed.
I think Michigan State wins the game. I think they pull away down the stretch. I think it's not a blowout, but I think it's like a 7-8 point game the majority of the game. And then late, there's a big run. Like around the 4-minute mark left in the game, Michigan State just like Akins gets a dunk. Somebody gets a 3. Jawan takes a timeout. And all of a sudden, Michigan State's up 14. And you're like, what the hell just happened?
Okay. Look ahead. Do we split this season with Michigan?
100% split. 100%. There's no way this season ends without one Hunter Dickinson just pantsing Mady Sissoko game. Like that's going to happen.
But that doesn't equal a win. That doesn't equal a win.
In one of them, it will, is my prediction.
Okay. Well, to give you my prediction that you did not ask for, I do think that Michigan State wins this basketball game. I think it'll be somewhere in the 8 to 10 point range with a pull away at the end, like you just said.
Can I make you play a game?
Sure.
I was letting you host, but if you're gonna throw since you didn't ask me, I'll ask you. I got my own game for you. All right. Can we go position by position through the top 8 in these rotations and tell me who you take?
Yes.
Okay. AJ Hoggard or Doug McDaniel?
AJ Hoggard.
I agree. Tyson Walker or Kobe Buffkin?
Tyson Walker.
Kobe's been better the last month.
Okay. I'm not mad. You can make an argument for Kobe.
I'm just saying Kobe Tyson was the best player on Michigan State for a month and a half. He's been not so great late, and it's flipped for Michigan. Kobe was a liability early, and Kobe's now playing out of his mind.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead and give that to Kobe based off recent play. I will give that to you.
Okay. Who are we calling Michigan State's 3 right now? Is that
Malik
Akins or is that Hall?
I'm saying Malik Hall.
Okay.
Are we
So
going through top 5 or are we going through like bench players as well?
we're gonna get into bench because I don't know if you know this, Cart. Bench is part of a basketball game.
Okay, go ahead. It isn't. Not if I don't want it to be. So Malik Hall is a 3.
Malik Hall or Jet Howard.
Malik Hall.
And this is where things get crazy. But so you are going to take Michigan State at every position except center, which is just factually incorrect. But again, in the way you view this team,
but Jet
Jet's so good offensively. Who cares?
He is, but
like,
he's so bad defensively.
I understand that.
All right, go ahead, Jet.
He guarded today. NBA scouts and all conference voting will all consider Jet Howard a better player than Malik Hall. But
Jet.
No, now that we're doing this, though, I'm starting to understand why you have Michigan State as the second best team in the Big Ten right now. If you think all these guys are better than every matchup they play, then yeah, 100%. Joey Hauser or Terrence Williams?
Joey Hauser.
Joey Hauser runs him off the floor. Hunter Dickinson or Mady Sissoko? Got to think about it, right?
Hunter.
Who's your 6th man? Akins?
Yeah.
Akins or Joey Baker?
Akins
for sure. Who's your 7th man?
Pierre.
Okay. Pierre or we're going to have to call that Harris Reed. Actually, no, we got to do big versus big for Harris Reed. Pierre or Jace Howard?
Honestly, low-key.
No, you're taking Pierre. You should take Pierre. I would take Pierre.
I might take Jace.
That's wild. Jace is really bad. Also, Jace didn't play in the Maryland game today, which is something to pay attention to.
That's a huge development.
Again, like I said, we can make fun of Juwan's horrible. He heard our last episode and made adjustments. Jace did not play, and they boat raced Maryland today. So,
okay.
But I would take Pierre over Jace, and then I guess the only final spot would be Terrace Reed or Jackson Kohler. Yeah,
Terrace.
Yeah, it's Terrace. So like the bench is not as big of a Michigan State liability as you would think on paper because Michigan's bench is horrible. But like all I'm saying is I think to most people that aren't a fan of either team, it's a pretty close split. And the biggest advantage Michigan State has, one is the point guard spot, but 2 is Tom Izzo over Juwan Howard. And you expect to win the game at home, but I think you should not. It would be a lie to act like this Michigan State roster is a lot better than Michigan's roster. Whether or not Michigan gets them playing well is a different thing. But when they do play well, like we saw today, they can beat teams by 40. Michigan State doesn't have that ceiling in Big Ten play.
Was that the first time that Michigan's played well this year?
No. It's the first time the result has been that way. I mean, look, this has been a team that has played super.
Yeah, I mean they did play. Don't cut you off. I would say they played Kentucky well, and
they played Virginia well. They were winning most of that game.
They did play Virginia. They hanging banners.
You can say North Carolina was iffy, but they were leading much of the first half against North Carolina. Like this, the thing with Michigan has been they've played up and down to every team they've played. Like until this Maryland game. Every cupcake they played was a close game late, and every good team they played was a close game late. Like none of the results went their way, but there hasn't been a game Michigan has gotten blown out in. And until this Maryland game, there hadn't been a game they'd won comfortably. So what that means for a Michigan State matchup, I don't know. Like I would be surprised given the results in every other game. I would be surprised if Michigan State wins by 20 because we haven't seen Michigan get beat like that. But I would also be surprised if Michigan wins at the Brez, given the situation.
So I guess we'll just have to wait and see, maybe.
Score prediction?
I got Michigan State 77 to 66.
Okay, so we're kind of in the same range. We think like a low double-digit win.
Yeah.
I like that. Who's the player of the game?
Joey Hauser.
Wow. Oh, are we doing our moment thing? Last year, our thing was like, who's the game? Like, there's always it's this guy game.
Last year we had a Cormac game.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting a Hauser legacy game.
We're getting a Hauser legacy game in this one.
Hauser legacy game.
That would genuinely make me so happy, man. I might be able to put my Michigan shit aside if Joey has a legacy game.
That'd be great. Who are you picking?
So I'll go score wise. I'll go like 72 to 59. I think Michigan's offense really suffers and they put up a little stinker. I think Hunter Dickinson will have 36 of Michigan's 59.
Oh my God, great.
I think Hunter will have 36 on Mady Sissoko. Listen, if they do the game plan they did last year, Hunter's gonna score 40 on Mady. He just is.
Yeah. And honestly, if we get in a situation where Mady's in foul trouble, we're probably gonna have to go small ball, to be honest with you.
If God forbid Jackson Kohler guards Hunter ever, you can chalk up 4 points in 30 seconds. So if you go small ball and you don't double, because the whole thing is they're not gonna double, right? So if you go small balls, Hauser guarding Hunter? Like, I don't know how he doesn't get 30 in this game. If Izzo does the same game plan he did last time, like Michigan State's like guys they have to guard are significantly less. Like last year you had Bingham and Marble. This year you have nobody other than Mady. So like maybe Mady hangs, it's possible, but I think what's most likely is Izzo does the same game plan he did last year. Juwan hits the podium like, oh, Hunter dominated, and they lose by 13 again. Like, I think that probably happens.
I can see it happening.
Legacy game, I'll go. Oh man, it's going to be one of the guards, either AJ or Tyson. You might like this. I think it's the Tyson legacy game. In this one, I think he hits a couple big shots and has like 22 or something, 22 and 4. And I think AJ Hoggard's legacy game comes in Chrysler later this season.
Ooh, okay. I like that prediction. And as I wrap this episode, I want to apologize first off to everybody because I unlocked non-positive Greg for this episode just as a tester, and I wasn't a fan of it. So we're bringing back positive Greg to the next episode on Unscripted.
You weren't a fan of my performance? You're giving me like a D for that?
I don't know. I mean, it might have been a good performance, but maybe just not what I needed to hear at the moment, maybe.
Okay. I got to know that. I got to have better situational awareness. You're right.
I agree. But as always, for Carter Elliott and for Greg Waddell, I appreciate everyone tuning in to the Unscripted. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, all that. Make sure you tune in for the next one because probably going to record it after the Michigan game, so it could go either one way. We will be at the game as well. So if anyone's in East Lansing, please hit us up. We'd love to link up, grab a beer, chat it up, whatever.
Big 10 to go. Give the plug. Big 10 to go. Give the plug. College hoops to go.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry.
Damn, Greg, you're talking about me. The show will be resuming, so we will be on site in East Lansing. So hit us up. Greg, any final words? Any resolutions or anything you want to talk about?
I resolve to be more positive next episode of this. I'm sorry, that's on me. I gave a stinker. What
a stinker.
I will say I asked you what role you want from me, and I played to what the coach told me to do, but I will adjust. I will take your feedback and I will respond. No, shout out to our listeners. I think we've had some good feedback on Unscripted this year. I think a lot of people told us early on they like the shift to Carter hosting. Cart's been doing his thing on the Michigan State side, the Spartan Dog Show that he's been doing in Detroit. I love to watch that. I've enjoyed his Spartan rivals articles already. So man's doing work. Make sure you show him love as the face of Michigan State basketball that y'all deserve, the man of the people. He keeps it real, but he also shows his love for his Spartans. And I'm just here to try and not weigh him down. I'll continue. And as we go into this week, Cart, I just want you guys to remember, man, it's not every day you get a chance to knock off a first place undefeated Big Ten team at home. Michigan State has a big chance against Michigan this week. So you want to finish that top 4. This one you got to win. See what happens.
How dare you? Unscripted out.